Will Arnett is jumping into the drama zone. Let's see how that works out. What's going on, everybody? Tom Shadowbash here, and if you love movies and TV like I do, then rest assured you're in the right place. And without further ado, let's review the new dramedy, Is This Thing On?, starring Will Arnett, Bradley Cooper, and Laura Dern. Now, Is This Thing On? Tells the story of a middle-aged man who's played here by Will Arnett, who is getting separated from his wife. His life is just spiraling out of control, and he wanders into a stand-up comedy club, and he actually does okay, and he kind of gets the bug, and he wants to continue doing the stand-up comedy thing while his life is falling apart. It's becoming more complicated, and yeah, then you kind of go on this journey with him as he's trying to navigate stand-up comedy, but also the separation from his wife. Basically, it's like a reverse Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, if you want to put it that way. If you've seen that show, it's basically just like a flipped version of that. Now, I was looking forward to this movie because it seemed like Bradley Cooper was stripping things back as a director here. I feel like Maestro, he really swung for the fences. I appreciated the effort, but that movie just failed to connect with me. I think it's a gorgeous looking movie. I think he gives a solid performance in it, but I felt like it was a step down considerably from A Star Is Born. So I was actually excited to see him scale things back and tell a more intimate story in a more intimate way. And I'm happy to tell you that this is absolutely a return to form for Cooper, and I think this is one of the better films of the year so far. I actually really enjoyed this one. Now, more than anything, I was really excited to see Will Arnett in a dramatic role because I know this guy can do drama. I know he can handle darker material. I know this might sound silly to say, but if you've watched BoJack Horseman on Netflix, I know, granted, it's an animated show on Netflix, but that show is way deeper than people give it credit for. He handles some really dark, weighty material in that, and he crushes it. So I was so excited to see what he would do here, and he floored me. He's fantastic in this movie. Yes, he's funny, but he's handling all these dramatic, intense scenes so well. I mean, he is so good at playing this man whose life is falling apart, but also is really exciting because he's discovering this new hobby that he's fallen in love with, and he's trying to make sense of it all. And he's so good at showing the different layers of that kind of predicament, that kind of situation. There are scenes where he just straight up broke my heart, where he's finally letting out his emotions, where he's not keeping things bottled up anymore. Like, he just kind of feels like this powder keg of emotions for a good majority of the movie, and once you see him slowly start to open up, for better and worse, I just think Arnett absolutely excels, and this is 100% the best performance he's ever given. And Laura Dern is just as good as his wife, who he becomes separated from. I think the two of them have such good chemistry together. I think their scenes together, they are bringing out the absolute best in one another. And there's some hard, difficult scenes in this film, but I feel like they make it look easy, and they make their marriage feel lived in and authentic and raw, especially when things get ugly. It almost feels like you shouldn't be there watching these conversations because it feels that authentic, if that makes sense. But I also have to say, I think Bradley Cooper is like an MVP supporting performer here. I'm glad that he doesn't try to overtake this film. He just plays a supporting character, a friend of Arnett's in the film, and I feel like he is so effortlessly funny, and the biggest laughs in the movie absolutely come from him. And anytime he was on screen, he was just delightful. And I really loved Cooper's direction in this film. It feels extremely intimate, very up close and personal. And I love how it doesn't necessarily feel voyeuristic. It just kind of feels like you're really following these characters, where you're sitting with them, watching these conversations, having these conversations with them, where the camera feels like a character in and of itself, but not one that overtakes the scene or draws too much attention to itself. And Cooper's really good at, walking that fine line between being showy and being maybe too complacent as a director. He's very good at walking that line, and I think he crushes it here. And he definitely doesn't try to overtake this film with a certain style or visual aesthetic. And I think the script here is pretty solid as well, that, Cooper co-wrote with Will Arnett and Mark Chappelle. I think it's very just honest and tender and warm. This is a very sweet film. That's the thing that snuck up on me. I wasn't sure what kind of vibe this movie was going to have based on the trailers. I wasn't sure if it was just going to try to be like a straight up comedy or dramedy, but I was really surprised by how heartfelt and tender this movie was. I think that's the biggest asset it has going for it. I mean, this is a film where you can feel it wearing its heart on its sleeve, where you can feel its characters wearing their hearts on their sleeves, and it just makes it so easy to emotionally invest in this story and these characters. And like I said, the cast is so good here, and the material they're working with is worthy of their talent, so it's a match made in heaven. And I think, like this amateur comedian learning the ropes, it kind of feels like the movie's doing that as well, where at first it feels a little bit stiff, it feels a little bit awkward, but then the more it sits with itself, the more it finds its rhythm, it starts to get really good, and it starts to become really fun to watch. So it's interesting how the film's quality runs parallel with Arnett's journey as a stand-up comedian in the film. I don't know if that was intentional, but I kind of enjoyed that, where it just kind of felt like they were both coming into their own at the same time as the film went on, which I thought was really interesting. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I mean, is the film perfect? No. I do think pacing-wise, it does feel a little bit sluggish. It does feel a little bit overly long as well. It's a film that runs about 2 hours or so, and I feel like it just doesn't need to be that long. And I do feel like there are some supporting characters that just ultimately, they didn't really add all that much to the movie, where I just felt like it just, I don't know, they felt a little bit superfluous or not fleshed out in the way that I wanted. And I do wish the movie was a smidge funnier. I mean, I never expected this movie to be hilarious, but I was hoping for some more jokes sprinkled throughout here. I mean, there are some laugh out loud moments for sure, but I was kind of hoping for maybe few more of them. But other than that, I think Is This Thing On is a really strong film. I think it's far better than Maestro. It might be a hot take to say that, but I thought this was way more appealing and emotionally engaging than that film. I think this is a nice return to form for Cooper, and this is absolutely the performance of Arnett's career, and I hope that it gives him more dramatic opportunities in the future. In the end, I'm going to give Is This Thing On 3.5 out of 5 stars. It may not be perfect, but it is very enjoyable, and if you're watching it and thinking, maybe it's okay, give it some time, it'll grow on you. I think it's a movie that gets better and better as it goes along. But yeah, check it out when it hits theaters in December. Yes, I know this is a very early review, but keep your eye on this one. It's a really solid film, and I think you might like it. So that's my review of Is This Thing On? Let me know in the comments if you're excited for this movie. Which movie do you like more, Maestro or A Star Is Born? Definitely let me know in the comments below. And until next time, everybody, I'm Tom Chattelbash, YouTube's most reliable movie critic.